Once upon a chilling autumn evening in a sleepy town in rural America, a young woman named Emily found herself alone in her small, dimly lit apartment. The wind outside howled like a vengeful spirit, and the rain tapped at her window like the gnarled fingers of a ghost trying to find its way inside. Emily, a recent college graduate, had moved to this town for a fresh start, away from the hustle and bustle of the city. Little did she know, her quest for solitude would lead her down a path of terror and despair that would forever haunt her. Emily had come across a job listing on Craigslist earlier that day. It was for a part-time position as a librarian at the town's historical society, a quaint and charming building nestled at the heart of the community. The ad, posted by someone named Mr. Holloway, had piqued her interest. It offered an impressive salary for what seemed like a simple job. With her student loans looming over her, Emily decided to give it a shot. When she arrived at the Historical Society the next day, Emily was greeted by a gloomy old building. Ivy crawled up its weathered walls, and the windows were streaked with grime. She hesitated for a moment, her heart pounding in her chest, but then she pushed open the creaking door. A bell above it tinkled, announcing her presence. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the dim lighting cast long, eerie shadows across the rows of ancient books and artifacts. A tall, slender man with a sharp face and piercing eyes stood behind the counter. He introduced himself as Mr. Holloway, the curator of the Historical Society. "Welcome, Emily," he said, extending a bony hand. "I'm pleased to have you here. The job is quite straightforward. Cataloging and organizing our collection, assisting visitors, and locking up at night. But there is one rule you must follow diligently." Emily listened intently, curious about what the rule might be. "Never, under any circumstances," Mr. Holloway continued, his voice lowering to a whisper, "enter the basement. It's off limits, and I must insist that you respect that boundary." Emily nodded, her curiosity piqued even further. The mysterious basement, off limits and forbidden, filled her with a sense of unease. As the weeks went by, Emily settled into her new role. She meticulously catalogued the collection and greeted the occasional visitor who wandered into the Historical Society. Yet, her curiosity about the basement gnawed at her. Late at night, when the building was silent, she could hear faint, eerie sounds echoing from below. One evening, as the rain poured outside and the wind howled like a choir of lost souls, Emily's curiosity got the best of her. She decided to explore the forbidden basement, convinced that Mr. Holloway's warning was merely a tactic to keep her away from something valuable or intriguing. She slipped down the creaking stairs, the dim light from above fading away as she descended into the inky darkness below. The air grew colder, and the faint echoes became more pronounced, like distant whispers. In the basement, Emily found a room filled with old, dusty books and relics. But what drew her attention was a heavy, ornate wooden door at the far end. It was adorned with strange symbols and seemed ancient, as if it held secrets from centuries past. Unable to resist, she approached the door and tried to turn the handle. To her surprise, the door swung open with ease, revealing a hidden chamber bathed in an eerie, greenish glow. Inside, rows of tall, glass jars lined the shelves, each containing a grotesque, deformed creature suspended in a strange, glowing liquid. Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she realized the truth. These were not creatures of nature. They were abominations created by some twisted mind. Panic set in as she stumbled backward, knocking over one of the jars. The glass shattered, and the vile liquid spilled onto the floor. A guttural growl echoed through the chamber, and Emily turned to see a shadowy figure emerging from the darkness. It was Mr. Holloway, his eyes now burning with a malevolent light. "You shouldn't have come here, Emily," he hissed, his voice now dripping with malice. Emily stumbled backward, her mind racing as she realized the true horror of the situation. Mr. Holloway was not a curator, but a mad scientist conducting unholy experiments in the dark depths of the basement. Desperation overtook her, and she bolted toward the stairs, racing to escape the nightmare that had unfolded before her. But Mr. Holloway was close behind, his inhuman speed and strength quickly closing the gap. As she reached the top of the stairs, Emily threw open the door and burst out into the rainy night. She ran through the streets, terror driving her forward, not daring to look back. 111. For days, Emily lived in fear, constantly looking over her shoulder, convinced that Mr. Holloway would find her and exact his revenge. She couldn't trust anyone in the town, not knowing who might be complicit in his sinister experiments. Eventually, Emily gathered enough evidence to expose Mr. Holloway's horrific deeds to the authorities. When they raided the Historical Society, they found the basement chamber empty, the jars shattered, and Mr. Holloway gone without a trace. To this day, Emily lives in constant fear, haunted by the memory of the grotesque creatures she saw in the basement and the knowledge that Mr. Holloway might still be out there, conducting his twisted experiments in the shadows. She can never escape the chilling truth that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places, and the horrors of that fateful night on Craigslist continue to haunt her. A dark chapter in a tale of terror she could never forget. 111. It was a gloomy evening in the quiet town of Willowbrook, nestled deep within the heart of the American Midwest. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, eerie shadows across the sleepy streets. Most residents were cosily nestled in their homes, blissfully unaware of the sinister presence that lurked among them. At the edge of town stood a dilapidated Victorian mansion, its once grand architecture now a faded memory of opulence. Locals referred to it as 1313 Blackwood Avenue, a name that sent shivers down their spines. The house had been abandoned for as long as anyone could remember, and tales of its dark past were whispered among the townsfolk. Some said it was cursed, while others believed it was haunted. One fateful evening, as the town was enveloped in an eerie silence, an unusual listing appeared on the popular online marketplace, Craigslist. The listing was titled Historic Victorian Mansion, 1313 Blackwood Avenue, and was posted by a user with the enigmatic pseudonym, The Dollmaker. The ad promised a remarkable deal. The mansion, a sprawling 10-bedroom, 5-bathroom property, was listed at a price that seemed too good to be true. Must sell quickly, the listing declared, serious inquiries only. The Dollmaker provided a contact number and an email address, but offered no photos of the interior. Curiosity piqued, locals couldn't resist the allure of such an incredible bargain. The tale of the mansion's dark history did little to deter potential buyers. Instead, it only fueled their desire for a paranormal thrill or an incredible investment opportunity. Within days, interested buyers began to contact the dealmaker. Among them was Sarah, a young real estate agent eager to make her mark in the industry. She had heard whispers about the mansion, but saw the listing as a chance to prove herself. With trembling fingers, she dialed the mysterious number and arranged a viewing. Sarah arrived at 1313 Blackwood Avenue on a cloudy Saturday morning. The mansion loomed ominously before her, shrouded in fog. The dealmaker, a shadowy figure in a black coat and fedora, greeted her at the front gate. "Welcome, Sarah," he said in a low, raspy voice. "I trust you're prepared to make a deal." As they stepped into the mansion, the air grew colder and the atmosphere shifted. Sarah noticed strange paintings hanging on the walls, portraits of people with hollow eyes, each one eerily lifelike. The dealmaker led her through dimly lit corridors, and Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The tour took an unsettling turn when they entered the basement. The dealmaker revealed a hidden chamber, its walls adorned with disturbing symbols. Sarah's heart raced as she stumbled upon a pentagram etched into the floor. Dread washed over her. The dealmaker began to unravel the mansion's gruesome history. He spoke of a wealthy family that had once owned the property, the Blackwoods. They were known for their lavish parties and eccentric rituals that drew the attention of the town. Whispers of dark sacrifices and unholy ceremonies spread like wildfire. One night, a fire had engulfed the mansion, leaving no survivors. The townspeople believed it to be divine punishment for the family's wicked ways. The mansion was abandoned, left to decay over the years. Sarah couldn't help but wonder why the dealmaker was so eager to sell a property with such a sinister past. She decided to dig deeper, uncovering the truth behind his true identity and motives. Late one night, Sarah ventured back to 1313 Blackwood Avenue, determined to uncover the dealmaker's secret. Armed with a flashlight, she began to search the mansion for any hidden clues. She discovered a locked room on the 3rd floor, its door adorned with an intricate, ancient-looking lock. With trembling hands, she managed to pick it open. Inside, she found a room filled with dusty old books, manuscripts, and journals, all detailing the Blackwood family's occult practices. As she delved deeper into the journals, Sarah uncovered a startling revelation. The dealmaker was not an ordinary man, but a malevolent entity bound to the mansion by curse. The Blackwood family had made a pact with dark forces, trading their souls for wealth and power. In return, they were cursed to forever serve as agents of evil, luring unsuspecting victims into the mansion's web. Sarah's discovery sent shivers down her spine. She realized that she had walked right into the clutches of a malevolent force. The mansion's hauntings escalated. Sarah heard whispered voices in empty rooms, saw shadowy figures lurking in the corners of her vision, and experienced terrifying nightmares that felt all too real. Desperate to escape the mansion's grip, she began researching ancient rituals to banish the malevolent spirit. 11. Weeks turned into months as Sarah delved deeper into the occult, determined to confront the entity. She discovered a ritual that required her to gather rare ingredients and perform a cleansing ceremony within the mansion's unholy chamber. As the appointed night arrived, Sarah entered the chamber, her heart pounding. The dealmaker, now fully possessed by the malevolent spirit, confronted her. The room filled with an otherworldly presence, and the walls seemed to pulse with dark energy. Sarah recited the incantation, her voice trembling but resolute. The chamber erupted in chaos as the entity fought to maintain its hold. The ritual reached its climax, and blinding light engulfed the room. Sarah felt a surge of power coursing through her as the spirit's presence weakened. With a final burst of energy, she banished the malevolent spirit from the mansion. The dealmaker's form crumbled into dust, leaving behind only the fedora that had once adorned its head. The mansion itself seemed to sigh in relief, its dark history finally put to rest. With the curse lifted, 1313 Blackwood Avenue slowly began to crumble into ruins, its dark past fading into legend. Sarah, now forever marked by her ordeal, vowed to ensure that the mansion's tale lived on as a warning to those who sought to make deals with the supernatural. As the years passed, the memory of 1313 Blackwood Avenue became a chilling cautionary tale, a testament to the darkness that could lurk behind the facade of an ordinary Craigslist listing. The mansion and its malevolent spirit may have been banished, but the legend would live on, ensuring that the horrors of that fateful deal would never be forgotten. It all started in a rather peculiar manner, leading me to initially think it was some kind of prank or a belated April Fool's joke pulled by one of my friends. However, events would take a dark and unsettling turn. I found myself seated at my computer desk, gazing at the monitor emitting a bright blue glow. It was an ordinary evening, and I was casually browsing through classified ads on a website similar to Craigslist, as was my routine when searching for interesting or profitable opportunities. The time had come to wrap up my computer tasks and unwind, but fate had something extraordinary in store. After a few minutes of procrastination, I made up my mind to finish my work and shut down the computer. Just before doing so, my eyes were drawn to a peculiar ad. The photo in the ad was surreal and almost unbelievable, taking me a moment to grasp its meaning. The images displayed my own room, furnished with my personal belongings. What was even more unsettling was that the ad contained my full name at a listed price of $1,500. Initially, I brushed it off as an elaborate prank, but as I delved further into the ad's contents, it became apparent that this was no joking matter. The ad included photos taken from my social media accounts, selfies with friends, beach pictures with my supposed girlfriend, and even images of my personal possessions. It was an invasion of my privacy that sent shivers down my spine. The most disturbing part, however, lay at the end of the ad, where I read the chilling words, "May be grabbed by 2 to 3 people. Bringing a weapon is recommended but not necessary." It sounded like a menacing threat, crushing my hopes that this might be a mere jest. How many people had seen this ad, and who would even respond to such a bizarre offer? A dreadful realization struck me. The ad contained my exact address. The possibility was undeniable, given the abundance of personal details in the ad. I frantically returned to the listing and saw the line. Address, $1,500. It was grotesque and sinister. Someone was attempting to profit from my personal information. My mind raced, contemplating how many other ads like this might exist. How many unsuspecting individuals have fallen into this sinister trap? Faced with this nightmarish situation, I urgently reported the ad, hoping it would be removed. However, I knew that it might take a considerable amount of time for the site moderators to address my request, and I couldn't afford to wait. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I sought a way to contact Craigslist support directly, but I came up empty-handed, finding only a feedback form. My hopes were dwindling. Desperation led me to check my email, where I noticed a glimmer of hope. I hastily crafted a message to the seller using a random email address, pleading for the removal of the listing, offering 5 times the listed price if necessary. I waited a response with bated breath. As minutes stretched into agonizing hours, I scurried around my house, securing doors and windows, and dimming the lights to create the illusion of an empty home. The chances of some malevolent stranger stumbling upon my location were slim, given the vastness of the internet. Nevertheless, I was determined to reduce the risk to absolute zero. Just when hope teetered on the brink of extinction, my nerves reached their limit, and a notification chimed in, signaling a new message in my inbox. My heart plummeted as I read the ominous words. "Information has already been sold." The message was unequivocal, and I sank in my chair, my last glimmer of hope extinguished. How much time had elapsed since the sale? Was it a matter of minutes, an hour, or perhaps a day? My thoughts were abruptly interrupted by the sound of wheels crunching on gravel. I cautiously peered through the curtains and spotted a sleek black SUV, its occupants concealed behind tinted windows. I struggled to convince myself that they would simply turn and depart, but my fear remained unrelenting. However, the vehicle remained stationary, its doors swinging open in unison. 2 enigmatic figures garbed in black emerged. My initial impulse was to flee, but an overpowering sense of dread held me in place. I watched in paralyzed silence as they approached the front door and rapped loudly, their sinister intentions unmistakable. My plan took shape rapidly. I decided to dial 911, chastising myself for not doing so earlier. The front door was sturdy, and it would take them some time to breach it, providing me with a precious window of opportunity. However, just as I initiated the call, I heard a peculiar, ominous sound emanating from the other side of the door, the keypad being tampered with. My heart plummeted as I realized that they likely knew the door code, information I had unwittingly provided. Panic surged through me, and I desperately sought a hiding spot. As the door unlocked with a click, I stealthily slipped into the pantry, the lights flickering to life. The 2 men entered the kitchen, whispering as they scoured the room intently. I almost reached the back door, but clumsily collided with a table, cursing my own ineptitude. Their hushed conversation ceased abruptly, and they commenced a thorough search of the kitchen, attempting to discern my whereabouts. I retreated into the pantry as the lights blazed on. The men, undeterred by the noise, infiltrated the kitchen, continuing their relentless quest. I could discern their footsteps drawing closer, and my heart raced in my chest. While they located the pantry, they found it empty as I had cleverly slipped out through the back door. My escape strategy involved vanishing into the dense woods. I recognized that the internet was a vast expanse, and the likelihood of someone stumbling upon this enigmatic ad was infinitesimal. Still, I was determined to eliminate even that remote possibility. Just when hope seemed to dwindle, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I retrieved it, and the call displayed Lexi's name, my girlfriend. My eyes widened. Lexi could return home at any moment. What if they had decided to capture her instead of me? I answered the call, my voice trembling as I cautioned her not to come home, explaining that something was terribly amiss. She inquired about my whereabouts, her voice laced with terror. I informed her that I was hidden in the pantry, hoping it was a safe haven for the time being. But before I could convey more information, the call abruptly terminated. Despair coursed through me as I wondered if they had found Lexi. Had I failed to forewarn her in time? Then an unfamiliar, disconcerting, vibrating sound emanated from the neighboring room. One of the men innocuously retrieved the phone, their voice distorted and gruff. At that moment, a dreadful realization dawned on me. The person who had posted the ad wasn't stalking me. They were living alongside me. Lexi herself might have posted that malicious ad, inadvertently divulging my location to these malevolent individuals. My heart constricted with despair as I listened to their conversation. They discussed the situation, and it became apparent that Lexi had indeed informed them of my whereabouts. The realization that she might have betrayed me added a layer of anguish to my already harrowing predicament. As I contemplated the gravity of the situation, my desperate eyes caught a subtle movement from the girl sitting at the table across the room. Thin and fragile, she appeared to be barely out of her teens, her vacant eyes fixed on a plate of artificial food. I was moved by an overwhelming sense of pity for her. Attempting to communicate with her, I whispered, "Can you hear me?" Her response, if any, was subtle, but it was evident that she was trying to convey something. I focused intently on her, and she managed to drop a steak knife, which clattered a few feet away from me. A glimmer of hope ignited within me. I strained against my restraints, attempting to reach the fallen knife. It was a race against time, and my hand inched closer to the knife with each desperate effort. The men soon noticed my intentions and attempted to thwart my endeavor, but it was too late. I seized the knife and thrust it into the nearest assailant's stomach, a surge of warmth washing over me as he loosened his grip. I stumbled back, adrenaline coursing through my veins, and made a run for it, darting out the door and onto the veranda. My heart pounded as I sprinted, casting a fearful glance toward the car where the Guardian stood. Our eyes locked briefly, confusion giving way to fury. He brandished a silver pistol, aiming it at me. I evaded the bullet just in time, a deafening gunshot echoing in my ears. I sprinted around a corner, with 2 more gunshots resounding behind me. I knew that my only hope of escape lay in reaching the nearby river. The water was bone-chilling cold as I plunged in, my body carried away by the current. I glimpsed the Guardian pursuing me, gun in hand and rage in his eyes. Unable to bear his menacing gaze, I turned away just as I collided with a massive rock jutting from the water. Pain surged through my head, and the world darkened as I succumbed to unconsciousness. The subsequent events are a hazy, fragmented blur. According to the nurse, I was discovered under a bridge by Good Samaritans who rushed me to the hospital. I cooperated fully with the police, recounting every detail, but the house's location remained elusive. The river had several tributaries, making it impossible to determine the exact spot I had entered or how long I had swum. While I was relieved to have escaped, the knowledge that Lexi, if that was even her real name, continued to sell personal information haunted me. The girl who had saved me remained captive in that house, and somewhere out there, the Guardian was hunting for his next acquisition. 11.